And now, let's join ace broadcaster Mamode Akugha as he takes us inside the Niger Delta.
Hello out there and welcome to the program. It's Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. I'm your regular host, Mamode Akugha. In today's package, we take a look at the impacts of violence visited on some states in the Niger Delta when recently the nationwide ENDSARS protest was hijacked by hoodlums. We begin with a follow-up report on the threat by the reformed Niger Delta Avengers to cripple oil production in the Niger Delta in solidarity with ENDSARS protesters across the country. Our second report focuses on Cross River State, which became a theater of violence at the peak of last month's nationwide looting and mayhem perpetrated by vandals. We will, in the course of the program, take a look at what Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Senator Godswill Akpabio, is doing to douse tension in Akwa State, where he served as governor for 8 years. And finally, in today's package, we bring you a report on the people's reaction to the completion of projects awarded by the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, to benefit communities in Akwa Ibom and Abia states. Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region, will be back in just a moment. Don't go away.
Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, determined to make a difference.
Welcome back. It's Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. Some youth leaders in the Niger Delta have reacted to the recent threat by the reformed Niger Delta Avengers to relaunch violent attacks on Nigeria's crude oil and gas assets should the federal government fail to meet their demand for the region's development. In their reaction, the youth leaders described the demands of the militant group as just and appropriate, but warned against violence in the struggle for an existence in the Niger Delta. Correspondent Tekena Mufuri has the report.
In solidarity with youths demanding police reforms and better governance, the reformed Niger Delta Avengers recently threatened to resume hostilities in the Niger Delta should the federal government fail to meet their demands on the transformation of their region. In a recent press statement, the militant group accused the federal government of withdrawing the sum of $1 billion from the excess crude account in 2019 to fund counterinsurgency campaigns in the northeast, while failing to address poverty and underdevelopment, two major issues that gave rise to violent conflicts in the Niger Delta prior to the introduction of the Presidential Amnesty Program in June 2009. The reformed Niger Delta Avengers regretted that while armed agitators in the region had complied fully with the terms of the 2009 Peace Pact, the federal government had reneged on its promise to improve the lot of communities in the beleaguered region. Consequently, the militant group has demanded that adequate provisions be made in the 2021 budget for the transformation of the Niger Delta, as well as immediate release of the sum of 98 billion naira gas flare penalty fund to impacted communities in the region.
Any right-thinking Niger Delta should be able to think in the direction of what will help fast-track the rate of development in this region. When you have things like the penalty that should be paid by companies for flaring gas in the region, I do not think that government should always be on the side of business operators or IOCs against its own people.
Because of this gas flaring, our lifespan here has been terribly reduced. It's been very painful that the government of Nigeria has not been very conscious about the go-throughs of the Niger Delta people.
In its recent press statement, the reformed Niger Delta Avengers also demanded a policy framework to legalize operations of artisanal refiners of crude oil in the Niger Delta, as the federal government did recently to incorporate local miners and refiners into the mainstream of gold production in Zamfara State.
What did we do wrong that Zamfara gold could be mined by local miners of Zamfara, and then they have license to operate and make the gold a product they can sell, which is their God-given resources. Our own gold here is crude. This is what we've been saying over time, that we want to manage our resources. We have structures, we can manage our resources.
This artisanal refinery has contributed, not the amnesty program. Oh. The amnesty program did not bring any peace to Niger Delta. Oh. It is this artisanal refinery that has employed the volume of our youths. If you can give Zamfara the freedom to mine their gold, you must give us the freedom to equally refine our crude oil.
President of the Ijaw Youth Council, Comrade Peter Igbifa, however, cautions the reformed Niger Delta Avengers and other agitated groups in the region to eschew violence in their engagement with the federal government.
Did Zamfara people shoot gun? Zamfara people did not fight war. There was no military attack on Zamfara for them to start producing gold and selling. The same thing will happen here, very peaceful. As we continue to push on these consultations, let it be a space of time for federal government to quickly sit back and review all the laws that seem to divide us more than unite us as a country.
Before this time, the Pan-Niger Delta Forum, PANDEF, a coalition of elders and leaders in the region, had equally sued for peace in the hope that cessation of hostilities would create room for development in the region. 4 years after its November 2016 meeting with the federal government, PANDEF says the 16-point agenda it put forward as precondition for lasting peace in the Niger Delta has been left largely unaddressed. Undaunted by this development, some non-violent youths are mobilizing to engage the Nigerian authorities in another round of dialogue, hoping that more far-reaching measures will be taken this time to address the challenges of deprivation and insecurity faced by communities in the Niger Delta.
Inside the Niger Delta.
With private and public properties worth several billions of naira destroyed and carted away by hoodlums, Cross River State is evidently one of the worst victims of the recent ENDSARS protests that suddenly degenerated into violent disturbances across the country. This report, correspondent Chika Abutuzia takes a look at possible factors that must have been responsible for the untold mayhem visited on a state that once prided itself as the most peaceful state in Nigeria.
On October 23rd and 24th, 2020, Calabar, the Cross River State capital, came under the siege of hoodlums. Taking advantage of the tension created by the ENDSARS protests nationwide, some hooligans went on a rampage, destroying properties and looting items belonging to private citizens, corporate organizations, and the Cross River State government. Among the over 50 recorded properties vandalized in Cross River State is the state-owned Tinapa Business Resort. The multi-billion-dollar Tinapa Business Resort was built by former Governor Donald Duke to boost business and tourism in Cross River State, which until recently prided itself as Nigeria's tourism capital. In the wake of the recent violence visited on Cross River State, most Cross Riverians are trying to come to terms with the actual motive behind the wanton destruction of public and private properties.
I am shocked that almost every single thing was destroyed, from the chillers, from the cooling systems, from our audio systems, from carpets to rocks to tiles to everything being picked. Such a way and manner that this is just beyond ordinary. We have strong belief that this trend is on Cross Riverian. In our DNA, destruction is not part of us. This is too much.
While they agree with Professor Ayade that the recent mayhem was not spontaneous, some cross-riverians have blamed it on his approach to governance that has given rise to widespread unemployment, poverty and insecurity in Cross River State. Social activist Ken Henshaw says under Governor Ayade's leadership, governance has been ridiculed in Cross River State.
We all saw the videos when the governor came. He stood at 11:11 and he was barricaded and protected by 3 different layers of security, to the extent that where he stood there was a triangle formed around him. Security from your unarmed citizens. It tells you that there is a big gully between the governor of the state and the people he leads. It was not just hunger that drove people to anger. It was the feeling that the government had failed them. So what we saw on the streets of Calabar was partially an expression of bottled anger, people's frustration, anger, and tiredness with the way the state is being governed.
That what is happening there is not ordinary, that it can snowball into something else, and he will be the first target. So he has every reason to be afraid. The reason being that the political content of that violence, is not going to go very easily.
Activist Ken Henshaw further accuses Governor Ayade of grandstanding on issues of governance, whereas his rather strange macroeconomic policies have continued to plunge Cross River State into an abyss of poverty and insecurity.
How does a state as poor as Cross River State create a budget of 1.2 trillion naira? And the governor has done this consistently for 4 years, creating budgets that from the outset is a deficit budget. How can a governor appoint over 6,000 special advisors?
By your own confession that you have 6,000 people with food on the table, those 6,000 people should impact. We have 2,888 polling units. So if you have 6,000, you have an average of over 200 people per polling unit. So how come that this vortex of anger can arise?
In the same vein, former majority leader in the Cross River State House of Assembly, Honorable Cletus Obum, maintains that the recent orgy of violence in Cross River State was the outcome of bottled up anger and frustration with Governor Ayade's governance style.
It is not something that was spontaneous. It was premeditated. It was orchestrated. It was directed. So the attenuation, the insinuation, the intensifying factor was a bottled up anger, and I think that the cure for it, the solution to this, is that political dividends must come down and Cross River State must return to its hospitality status.
Fortunately, no loss of life was recorded in the recent destruction and looting of properties belonging to the government and private citizens in Cross River State. For critics of Governor Ben Ayade, however, the recent ugly incidents should serve to remind him to reinvent governance in Cross River State as a matter of urgency.
Whatever we have done, we're sorry. We have heard you. I will communicate to Oga, right? I'll tell him to wake up. In the job, the people are losing patience.
Inside the Niger Delta. Heritage Bank. Service, performance, respect, integrity, innovation, tenacity, excellence. Heritage Bank, your timeless wealth partner. Looking for irresistible luxury? Welcome to Oakhaven Hotel, located at the heart of GRA Port Harcourt, River State. With a wide array of luxury rooms to offer you exquisite comfort, to the VIP lounge with wireless internet services and a fully packed bar, Oakhaven Hotel also has a dazzling swimming pool, a chill-out area and a massage and wellness spa. For your meetings and events, our conference hall and restaurant Victoria will exceed your expectations. Oakhaven Hotel, comfort you can't afford to miss.
Get to know the future. The future is ITEO.
Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Senator Godswill Akpabio, has appealed to youths in the Niger Delta to shun violence and support the government of President Muhammadu Buhari to change the ugly narrative of poverty and deprivation in the region and other parts of the country. Senator AKPABIO made the appeal at a town hall meeting in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State capital, in the wake of violent protests that culminated in looting and destruction of properties.
Senator AKPABIO, in the company of Special Assistant to the President on Niger Delta Affairs, Senator Etainang, the Federal Commissioner in the Federal Character Commission, Dorothy Ubong, and other top government officials, was in Akwa Ibom State in compliance with President Mamode Buhari's directive to cabinet members to return to their respective states and engage with the youths, elders, and traditional leaders to chart the way forward in the wake of widespread violence perpetrated by hijackers of the peaceful ENDSARS protests across the country. The minister, who was in the Akwa Ibom State capital, also to assess the level of damage occasioned by looters and vandals, pointed out that peace was a precondition for the stability of democracy in Nigeria. He commended President Buhari for acceding to the demands of protesting youths and promising comprehensive reforms in the policing of the country.
We all have children. Talk to your brothers, your sisters, and say, look, you have made the point. The ENDSARS movement has made the point. Judicial commissions or inquiries have been set up. Government is looking into police reform, and in fact, even the increase in salary. All those were well-intentioned. But please stop going out. Let the protests come to an end. Let us now go into major reform so that we can see the result of the protest, so that those that the hoodlums came and killed will not die in vain.
AKPABIO charged the youths to do well to protect federal government's projects in the region. He assured them of better days ahead, as his ministry had placed premium on infrastructural development across the Niger Delta in the 2021 budget.
In the Niger Delta Development Commission, I have insisted that for the 2021 budget, we would like to see major infrastructure. That is the message that we brought not just to Akwa Ibom but to the whole Niger Delta region. I know God will help us to maintain peace.
In their reaction, some Akwa Ibomites said the visit was a step in the right direction as the government of President Buhari moves to assuage the sufferings of Akwa Ibom people and their neighbors in the Niger Delta.
All the minister was expected to do, and which he did, was to call a meeting of different interest groups and assuage their feelings, explain the position of the federal government to them, which he is doing.
What the minister did is a welcome development, because this is the time that we expect all stakeholders to come together to see how we can find a lasting solution to this carnage. We cannot burn down the country. This country belongs to all of us.
The minister commended governors of Niger Delta states for setting up judicial commissions of inquiry to look into alleged cases of police brutality and harassment, while urging those affected to register their complaints through such commissions and be rest assured that justice will prevail in the long run.
Inside the Niger Delta.
The non-completion of a 65 million naira water project, as well as a road construction project awarded several years ago by the Niger Delta Development Commission NDDC, is giving members of IKOT-OKPON community in Uyo local government area of Akwa Ibom State cause for worry. Consequently, they are calling on the NDDC to prevail on contractors handling the abandoned projects to return to site and complete them without further delays.
When in 2010, the NDDC awarded a 65 million naira contract to Occidental Construction Company for the construction of a solar-powered water project in IKOT-OKPON, the commission had a problem acquiring land as the community was unwilling to donate land, which had become a scarce commodity in the area. Considering the importance of the project, however, the village chief, then a member of the village council, offered a piece of land for the project to commence. To the dismay of the community, the solar water project has not produced a single drop of water and is completely abandoned. It was discovered that the contractor sunk a borehole and erected a galvanized tank, but failed to provide a solar-powered panel, Moreover, there was no connection of pipes to supply water and no parameter fencing as provided in the project bill of quantity.
I took it upon myself that I'm going to give a place that project be sited for the benefit of my community. I took them to the site, they saw it, and the contractor was moved down to the site that time. Suddenly, the man had to go. The contractor left without the completion of the project.
Also abandoned is the Use-Ufot Road construction project, awarded to Zeharif Ork Limited in 2017. The road had deteriorated over the years and is now impassable.
I have a privilege to be a storekeeper of this company. Since that contractor left this place, I tried to call him to know about what is the problem, how they leave this road. There's some depths for ground already since 2018 when they stopped this job. My money in their hand, almost 200 and something. We want them to come back and complete this job.
This road now is not motorable. It's not even trackable. So we now call on either NDDC or the government to come and complete this project.
Efforts to get a contractor explain why the project has been abandoned were unsuccessful, as he neither took several calls on his mobile number nor respond to text messages. Over the years, the abandoned state of this project has made life difficult for members of IKOT-OKPON community who are calling on the NDDC to get the contractors back to site without any further delay.
Inside the Niger Delta, Belema Oil Producing Limited, oil production and exploration company. Belema Oil, truly indigenous, world-class brand. Azikel Group, oil and gas, dredging, power and air transportation. Azikel Group, petroleum product sufficiency, energy sustainability and infrastructure development.
These appear to be very trying times for communities in Ukwa East, Ukwa West and Aba South local government areas of Abia State, as a contract for the construction of a major access road awarded by the Niger Delta Development Commission some 6 years ago is yet to be delivered. Like their neighbors in Akwa Ibom, the distraught Abia communities are calling on the NDDC to revive the stalled road construction project and ensure its speedy completion.
In 2014, the Obegu Road construction project was awarded to OnePlus Holdings Nigeria Limited to link several communities in Ukwa East, Ukwa West, and Aba South local government areas of Abia State. Owing to its poor execution, the project was re-awarded to Aguilare Consult in 2015. Unfortunately, the new contractor has made little efforts to complete the 8-kilometer road designed as a major access road to foster development in the communities. Before leaving site some 2 years ago, the contractor had managed to grade some parts of the road, which has over time witnessed considerable wear and tear. For some commuters, the road has become a nightmare.
The effect on the populace has been so bad. Previously, even when this road was not built, it was even better. But you see potholes everywhere, the road becoming impassable. And the people have suffered a great loss. In fact, we've been feeling so bad about the level of uncompletion of this very road.
At Obegu community, one Aloysius Nwagboso, a former NDDC board member, was identified as beneficiary of the contract for the construction of this road.
Mr. Aloysius was a contractor. I don't know whether he is still the contractor from NDDC. He started this job from his own place at Umunteke. He did every nook and cranny of his place. Get it tired. Every day he continued roaming about here, telling us about the road. And the contract never took effect till now. Look at some of his materials here. This machine belongs to him. Blah, 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 blah. He did not do anything. He said it's coming till now.
We heard that the owner of that company is one Alloy that is said to have handled the project as you can see, nothing was actually done. So the road hasn't been done as long as I'm concerned, and people who are applying this road are really suffering.
When contacted, Mr. Nwagboso said he had details of the contract but maintained that he was not the contractor. Worried about the non-completion of this all-important project, its intended beneficiaries in over 6 communities have called on the NDDC to intervene in their plight as a matter of urgency. They therefore look forward to immediate recommencement of work on the project, which should be completed in the shortest time possible to ease their suffering.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Well, that's our package on the program for today. Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region, will be back same time, same station next week. Until then, you can follow us on our social media handles showing right now on your screen. Until next week, I am Mamode Akugha, thanking you for staying with us. Bye for now.